Alright guys, so here's what I want to show you. It's all about drafting your story. Now, when you're drafting your fiction story, you have a story arc that looks like mine right here. Mine's not complete, but it does show the first few parts that I want to write about. And my story is about a boy named Amos. And he's a sports nut, but he also has a soft heart. And he wants to um, befriend a new student at school, but his buddies think he's kind of a dork and they begin to tease him and bully him. So Amos has kind of a hard decision to make, and it's his best friend Eric who's the worst bully of them all. So let me show you how I'm going to plan this, and then two ways to draft your story. One of them is the way that you don't want to do, one of them is the way that you do want to do. Okay, so one thing we want to do first is figure out where are we going to start our story. So in my case down here, we are going to study, or we're going to start writing about the first point on my story arc, and it says Amos and Eric don't let the boy play. Eric is a bully. So I'm going to have to write about how Amos and Eric don't let the boy play on the playground and Eric bullies him. So let's go to my first attempt at this. Eric and Amos were playing basketball with their friends. When the boy they were playing with rolled, or when the ball that they were playing with rolled toward the school, a new boy walked out of the school for recess and picked up the ball. Eric came over to him and shouted, "Give me the ball, kid." The boy didn't know what was going on, but wanted to be friendly. "Can I play with you guys?" he asked Eric. Eric and Amos told the boy there were already fair teams, so he couldn't play. Jackson, the boy, felt really alone. So here we find out some great information, and it tells all about how Eric and Amos were playing basketball, and they kind of picked on the boy, and Eric shouted, "Give me the ball, kid." But really, this attempt at writing this line on my story arc right here is kind of a summary. I just told all about it. So what I want to do is take this part of the draft and really blow it up. For example, Eric and Amos were playing basketball with their friends. I just told you that. Let's actually live out that experience. You'll see on my next draft that I do that. Again, a new boy walked out for recess and picked up the ball. Well, when he picked up the ball, how did he handle the ball? Was he really good with the basketball? Was he not so good with it? Was he clumsy? Let's paint that picture for our readers' brains. Don't leave those kinds of details out of your story. Let me show you what I mean. Here is my second attempt at it, and you'll notice how much more detail I add so that I paint a clear picture. Watch the added dialogue and the added details. "It's not fair," cried Jack, who was not pleased with how the teams came out. "Oh, it's never fair to you, Jack," replied Amos. "Quit being a crybaby and let's play. We're wasting precious recess time." The boys in the 5th grade at Jefferson Elementary School were notorious for hogging the only basketball court on the school's playground. Green grass sprawled forever, but there was only one patch of blacktop that had a basketball hoop. Amos, a die-hard basketball player, usually took over this court with Eric, Jack, and his other buddies every day. "Next point wins," yelled Eric. Jack was dribbling the ball down the court. Bump, bump, bump. The other boys were running crazily down the court after him. As Jack threw up a prayer of a shot, Amos came rushing out of nowhere and stuffed the shot right back toward Jack until it hit the school wall. Jack looked at Amos with a glare of shock. As the boys were jawing at Jack, the door to the school opened and a boy of scrawny proportions shuffled out. The ball, which no one took off after, casually rolled to his feet. Unaware of where it came from, the boy took the ball into his hands, tossed it up and down a couple of times, and began dribbling it clumsily across the blacktop. "Give me the ball, kid," commanded Eric. Eric had a way about him that seemed rude. He never spoke in a soft voice, and it usually sounded like a piercing cry of a raven. Outside of his friends, no one cared for his personality. The boy looked as though he had never heard Eric. He had a glazed look on his face, and his eyes looked off into the distance. In his mind, he was trying to forget the horrible morning he was having, and didn't even notice Eric standing there, let alone his rude comment. "Hey, Shrimp!" shouted Eric. "Give me the ball." "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't even notice you were there." "How did you not notice I was here? I'm standing right in front of you. Get a clue, kid." The boy's heart sunk. This school seemed to be the same as them all. Mean kids, clueless teachers, no friends. Eric stood over the boy as though he was king and said one more time, "Give me the ball, kid." I'm going to stop there. I want you to notice how in this draft of my story, I really started painting a clear picture. You get to know who Eric is. There are reasons why people think he's a bully. You get an idea of um, the boy Jackson, who we haven't named yet in this part of the story, but you get an idea of what he's like. He's moved a lot. He's at new schools all the time, and he's clumsy. Amos, we get an idea, is a great athlete up here at the beginning of the story. Later, if you read on, you get to find out that Amos kind of just goes with the flow. He doesn't want to upset his friends. So, for example, you'll see here towards the end, Amos says, "Hey, what's taking so long, Eric?" And he says, "This kid's got something wrong with him. He's not even giving the ball back. He wants to play with us." "Just take the ball and get over here," Amos replies. "We're wasting time and we don't need anyone else. We already have equal teams." So Amos kind of shows a side of going with the flow as well. And really deep down, Amos isn't that kind of person. If you go back to the story arc, later on we'll craft a scene where we tell everything, the details and the dialogue, to show that Amos feels bad. We don't just want to say that he feels bad, we want to show it. So in your own story, I want you to craft scenes, not summaries. This one was a summary that just kind of told all about what was happening. We don't want that. What we want is to craft a scene that tells all of the details.